Do you like Zelda? Do you like Dick? If the answer to those questions is yes, then I have the show for you. The Legend of Zelda is a 1989 TV show based on the 1986 video game of the same name. My first exposure to the show was when I would watch the Mario Bros. Super Show DVD growing up. The intro for the Zelda show would always play before getting to the main menu, and while my sister was a Zelda fan, I didn't really give a shit. It just never really piqued my interest, but one thing did catch my eye, or more specifically, my ear, which you can't see.
Excuse me, princess.
So now, like 13 years later, I've finally decided to sit down and watch the show that's been in the back of my mind for years. Because this show is based almost entirely on the first Zelda game, with an anime or two taken from Adventures of Link, it is very little to go off of in terms of story and characters, which leads to classic 80s tropes and plots you've seen millions of times. I think there's no better way to show you what I mean than to just jump into the first episode. So let's go.
Hey, paisanos! It's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
So, DIC couldn't really be bothered to make a Zelda intro song, so instead they just used the Mario's intro, and then would play the little advertisement that would play in every Super Show DVD. It might seem a little lazy, but they did this because Zelda episodes played every Friday in place of a Mario one, so why not just use the intro, outro, and live-action segments of the Mario show? Anyway, the episode begins with a nice rendition of the classic Zelda theme as we're introduced to Link. Like I was saying earlier, there wasn't really a set model for how any character should behave, so they decided to give Link the arrogant boy stereotype. You know, he just wants to adventure, he likes to be messy, and he's pretty crass towards everybody.
I used to roam the world, fighting monsters and sleeping in mud. A hero's life.
After Link gets out of bed and does his morning complaining, paired with pantsless squats, we get to see his first interaction with Zelda.
Looking good, princess. Especially from this angle.
Oh!
Yeah, Link is kind of a total creep in the first episode. He gets better as the series goes. Anyways, while he's ogling Zelda, some moblins show up and jump him, leading to an epic action sequence full of slaps to the face with pillows and a lot of quips.
Hey, it's been fun, but the other customers are getting impatient.
After looting their corpses, Zelda knocks on the door, punches Link in the face, and then proceeds to call him a filthy slob. This, of course, gives us the first
Excuse me, princess.
Before moving on, I want to talk a bit about Zelda's character. She's portrayed as bossy and self-reliant, which I think is a good pairing with Link's arrogance, considering she's pretty no-nonsense with him. She fights alongside Link almost the entire show, and she's never used as just a damsel in distress. Alright, let's go back to the show. Zelda tells Link he needs to stay in the castle all day today to protect the Triforce piece, because she's the judge of Magician's Got Talent. Link responds like any normal person would. Now we're introduced to the main villain of the show, Ganon. He's kinda your typical magician, evil, pig villain, because they only had the first game to go off of. His voice in the show is pretty cool in my opinion. It's pretty shrill sounding, but sometimes it goes super deep, and then just returns to normal.
Eliminate that heroic past! I want Zelda. My new wand of power will allow me to zap her into my evil jar!
It gives you an uneasy feeling about him, which I think is perfect for the show's main villain. Anyway, Ganon gets pissed the moblins failed their attack, so he decides to join Magician's Got Talent to get his spirits up. We then cut to the competition, with our first contestant Gandalf showing Zelda how farmers' selective breeding affects his tomatoes. Sadly, it doesn't go too well for him, but Ganon finds that shit hilarious.
Who dares to laugh at me?
What he doesn't find hilarious is the next contestant showing off his stank sock as magic. In fact, he is so pissed about this that he decides to steal the Triforce of Wisdom from the tower, so he sends one of his minions to go see if it's guarded. Up in the castle, the fairy girl Sprite is hitting on Link, which he's having none of.
Sprite, you're only 3 inches high.
What? You don't like short girls?
Ganon's minion returns and tells Ganon what's up, so he decides he needs to distract Link in order to retrieve the Triforce. To do this, he zaps another contestant's lizard, turning it into a giant fire-breathing dragon. After hearing Zelda's screams, Link wastes no time and jumps out of the tower's window, backflipping his way to fight the dragon. After immediately getting himself into a sticky situation, Zelda helps him out with a pan, which he uses to ricochet his sword beam back at the beast, returning it to its normal size and giving him another chance to say,
Well, excuse me, princess.
While this is happening, Ganon finds his way to Link's room, where he totally wrecks Sprite and gets scolded by the Triforce for being a real jerk.
Evil is the path you choose, but evildoers always lose.
Silence!
Despite the scolding, Ganon activates his escape plan, but it's no match for Zelda's quick thinking, in which she launches them directly into the air after him. She then has the audacity to ask Link,
How are we going to get down?
After landing safely, Ganon jumps them, so Link hands Zelda the corpse's loot from earlier and decides to tie the two of them together for some reason. Of course, since Ganon's minions can't do anything right, Ganon shows them his 1-2 beatdown, which is very funny to him for some reason. Astolfo takes note of Ganon's boxing lesson and decides to throw a bomb at them, which Link hits back towards Ganon, defeating him and returning the Triforce to its rightful owners. Link then refuses to untie Zelda until she gives him a kiss, which she reluctantly agrees to, but before those two can tongue wrestle, Sprite appears and unties them. The episode ends with Ganon throwing a hissy fit in his lair and Mario dancing around the desert. And that is episode 1 of the Zelda TV series. In my opinion, it's a great first episode to show how the characters are going to interact with each other, what's at stake each episode, and how the world of Hyrule works with magic and all that. Also, as a little bonus, at the end of every episode, I'll be giving away an MVP award. For this one, I think it goes to Zelda. Getting creeped on by Link and still saving her from the dragon is MVP behavior if I've ever seen it. I don't really have a good transition to the next episode, so... Episode 2 begins with a very drawn-out zoom into the castle, where Link and Zelda are chopping it up about springtime. After hyping Link's ego up, she reveals his duty for the day is to clean the castle. Of course, Link doesn't want to do anything like that, so he decides to fake being sick to get out of doing his chores, which somehow ends up working. Meanwhile, Zelda is up in Link's room, complaining about his big pile of stinky clothes, to which the Triforce of Wisdom is like,
Zelda, why do you even care? It's not like being smelly will destroy the kingdom.
In response to that ponage, Zelda snatches up an innocent bird and suffocates it to death in the stench. Zelda's all tired now due to her hard work killing Hyrule's wildlife, so she lies down to rest a bit.
Oh boy, smooching time!
Sprite defends Link from Zelda's bullying, which is actually kind of funny.
Don't pick on Link. He's sick.
I'll say.
I mean, he has a cold.
And so Link is left to rest up while the girls return to their cleaning. Ganon is informed about the cleaning day for some reason, so he heads over to the castle and zaps Sprite with a magic beam. In the meantime, Zelda asks Sprite for a little help.
Make this bed, mop the floor, wash the walls, dust.
Of course, Sprite can't really do any of that, considering she's 3 inches tall, so she decides to use her magic. After the magic sends her flying backwards, she realizes it's all out of whack, and that she's just like Mickey Mouse as the room starts to get filled with water by magic cleaning supplies. Oh, and she gets her ass kicked. Zelda and Link hear her cries and attempt to rush to her safety, but they get swept down the stairs by the flood. The two somehow conclude that this must be Ganon's doing, and they finally come to Sprite's rescue. After cleaning up her mess, pun intended, they realize Ganon has stolen the Triforce during the whole magic fiasco, so Zelda and Link rush after him, leaving Sprite to feel sorry for getting them into the situation. Ganon manages to escape to the underworld and puts the two Triforce pieces together, because there were only 2 pieces at this point in the franchise. The two heroes make their way to the underworld using a shortcut, and get harassed by some evil dead vines. They then fall directly into Ganon's giant glass chalice, where Goma shows up, fails to kill Link and Zelda, and is ultimately defeated by Ganon himself. Sprite shows up and uses her enhanced magic to break the chalice Zelda's stuck in, which allows her to defeat Ganon, but not before he causes the whole layer to crumble to pieces. After narrowly avoiding death, Link and Sprite think they'll have time to relax back at home. But Zelda is still rightfully pissed she was lied to and her room was destroyed, so she sends them back to cleaning. And that's episode 2. Yeah, not much to say on that one. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but it's not very interesting either. I think it's just hard to follow up the first episode. It's kind of hard for me to be super harsh and critical on these shows, considering I grew up watching the DIC cartoons. I've kind of grown a resistance to the cheesy dialogue and stuff. This episode's MVP award has got to go to the bird that Zelda killed. He didn't deserve what happened to him. Episode 3 starts with a shot of Hansel from Zoolander. We then cut to Link and Zelda sitting in some town in Hyrule, waiting around to be attacked by Ganon. Their dream comes true as a group of Armos comes marching in, but they're easily defeated. During this fight, a stray arrow knocks Link's sword away, leaving him weaponless and vulnerable. An Octorok is called in as a reinforcement and drags Link around for a while, until Griffith, aka Hansel, aka Prince Facade, comes to the rescue. Zelda immediately gets all hot and bothered, which I don't blame her, and Link is totally big-dicked by Prince Facade, which he isn't too happy about. Down in the underworld, Ganon is able to clock Prince Facade instantly, which gives him the idea to use his vanity against him. Back at the castle, Zelda wastes no time introducing Facade to King Harkinian, her dim-witted father and ruler of Hyrule. He's the guy that says, "Dinner!" While all of that's happening, Link is up in his room taking a bath like the old dude from SpongeBob and getting perved on by Sprite. But all he can think about is winning back Zelda by dressing up like a pimp, which goes horribly wrong. Link isn't the type of guy to just take that shit, so he quits his job as protector of the Triforce and hits the road on his trusty horse. That's right. You know her name. The one and only
Catherine, this place makes me sick.
Unlike Link, Ganon is having a good old time, as his plan is going exactly how he wanted it to. With Link gone, he sends his minions to attack Zelda, whom Facade does a pretty piss-poor job of protecting. Things go from bad to worse after she's carried through some muddy water which he refuses to wade through as
Heroes simply do not get dirty.
What?
Luckily, Link hears her screams in the distance, and after thinking on it for a bit, Impa's brother Ian cracks some jokes and convinces Link to go and save the babe Zilla. As Zelda's dragged to the underworld, she pleads one last time for Facade to save her, which he promptly ignores. Of course, Link arrives just in time to save her, to which he is given a pretty half-assed thank you by the princess before she shoves Prince Facade into the water as revenge. The episode ends with Link asking for a kiss and getting rejected, as Facade makes a funny face to the camera and shrugs like, guess I deserve that one, right folks? For episode 3, I noticed Ganon took more of a backseat in terms of attacking Hyrule. Usually he goes with his minions, but he just had them do it for him. I don't think that means anything, I just thought it was interesting. Besides that, I'm glad they aren't scared to introduce characters for one episode and just write them off. I'm also glad they don't go all in on Link as a shithead and that's why Zelda treats him like that. I think it just adds more to her character that's just how she is. She's not the picture-perfect princess of Hyrule, but she's also not a total jerk to Link just for the sake of it. Just like Link can be arrogant, but he'll always do the right thing at the end of the day. I think her design reflects that too. Unlike most princesses, she rarely, if ever, wears a dress, which is how she's depicted in the NES artwork, which again is entirely what the show is based on. Instead, she's usually shown wearing pants and boots and fighting alongside Link with no issue. Nowadays, it's not strange to see princesses stand up for themselves, and it wasn't totally out of place in the 80s either, with cartoons like He-Man and She-Ra having characters who could handle themselves in a fight with no issue. Zelda isn't a helpless character in most games, but at the time of the cartoon, she was nothing more than a damsel in distress to push Link along in his journey. So seeing this take on her so early in the franchise's lifetime is just kind of neat. Of course, I'm probably looking into it a bit much, but I think it's still worth noting. MVP for this episode is for sure Link. Do I really need to explain why? Episode 4 begins with Zelda pissed off that Link slept in despite agreeing to go out horse riding that day, but she's cut off when she hears a girl screaming for help. After Zelda fends off a Gleeok with nothing but a fruit basket, Link comes in and steals a kiss with the rescued maiden. After swapping spit with the maiden, it's revealed she's actually a mummified corpse, so Zelda finishes her off, but the damage is already done. Link has been turned into a gross frogman, and after crying about it for a bit, Zelda decides to friendzone him. Ganon witnesses this and gets jealous that nobody ever hugged him for his grotesque appearance, so he shoots the two friends, leaving Link knocked out and kidnapping Zelda in the process. After waking up, Link heads to the castle and begs Sprite for help, but as usual, the Triforce chimes in with some advice. However, this time it's something useful, as it tells them they must seek out the Witch of Walls. After finding her, Sprite calls her ugly and is promptly told to fuck off.
What is this? Ugly People Day? Oh, fair air, I'll use you for bait.
The witch tells Link the only way to return to normal is pretty simple. Get a kiss from a princess. Of course, Link starts complaining, so she's like,
I said the cure was simple, I didn't say it was easy.
Anyway, Down in the underworld, Ganon has Zelda tied up and is talking about kissing her for some reason. Ganon realizes Link is after him and goes off to kill him, but Link manages to cut Zelda free while Ganon is gone. Link explains what she needs to do to return him to normal, which she agrees to before Ganon shoots the two of them away again. With Link lying on his ass once more, Zelda fends off Ganon while Sprite gives Link a pity kiss, which returns him back to his Hylian form. The heroes escape from Ganon's lair, and Sprite explains her dad is king of the fairies, so she's technically a princess. Zelda offers to kiss Link anyways, but he grabs a fly and eats it, so she calls it off. The end. Yeah, episode 4 was my least favorite so far. Link's frog form barely affects him, which is probably just due to the 15-minute time limit, but still. I'm watching all these episodes in one sitting, and it's only episode 4, so I'm either going to get more negative or more, like, quote-unquote unhinged as we go on. But for now, this episode wasn't bad, just not my favorite. MVP goes to the Witch of Walls. I kind of just like her, she's funny. Alright, on to episode 5. This episode starts off with King Harkinian taking in the Hyrule scenery while Link watches Zelda through a window. Cut to Ganon riding a unicorn. Back at the castle, Link gets caught by the king while trying to break into Zelda's room, but luckily he's able to lie himself out of trouble.
I was just gonna swing in through your daughter's window and try to get her to kiss me.
After carefully and quietly entering her room, Zelda offers to kiss him as a thanks for entertaining her. Of course, their kiss is interrupted, as the king is kidnapped by Ganon atop his iconic unicorn, so Link rushes to rescue him, grabbing a hold of the unicorn's tail and flying through the night sky. Ganon quickly shoots Link off, leaving him to plummet to his death. The king has some harsh words for that.
That wasn't nice at all.
Luckily for Link, he's able to grab a hold of some Vyres, but Ganon shoots them too, so Link continues to fall to his death anyways. King Harkinian once again has some harsh words, but Ganon shuts him up this time.
That was quite impolite.
Silence!
Down on the ground, Zelda wheels over a cart of hay, but sadly, this isn't Assassin's Creed, so Link just dies. Alright, that's a lie, but the situation is still a lot for anyone, so Zelda expresses her concern over her father's kidnapping and Link's near death.
Where'd Ganon get that flying unicorn?
Down, down, down in his underworld lair. Ganon is busy bragging to King Harkinian about his brand new unicorn. Sadly, the king doesn't really care, so Ganon sends him to the Solar Death Ray room to be incinerated. In the meantime, Link and Zelda face off against Giant Armos as Zelda initiates her escape plan. After another close call with a kiss, Link and Zelda fall into the room that for some reason activates Link's bowels.
Duty calls!
Once done taking care of business, Link gets jumped by some random ninja, who they unmask to reveal a girl from a faraway land named Sing. And let me tell you, whatever you think she's gonna sound like, you're completely wrong.
She doesn't speak our language.
After agreeing to help each other out, the girls run across the bridge, leaving Link to face Ganon alone. Being the resourceful guy he is, Ganon just breaks the bridge Link is standing on, leaving him to kind of just dangle there while Sing reunites with her stolen unicorn and rescues the king. After one hit with a boomerang, Ganon is defeated, and Link uses the whistle to teleport them all back to Hyrule Castle, where they wave goodbye to Sing as she flies off into the horizon. The absurdity of this episode makes it one of my favorites so far. I don't have much to say that I haven't already made a joke about, so the MVP award goes to Ganon this episode. Cutting to him just flying out of the underworld on a unicorn is like really funny to me. And again, the absurdity of bragging about a unicorn he stole and then getting upset when it's stolen back from him, it's just really funny. I think it's going to be pretty hard to beat episode 5 in my ranking, so let's just go to episode 6. Episode 6 starts with Link and Zelda setting up a peaceful picnic, before Zelda pounces on Link and tells him to shut up and kiss her. I haven't really mentioned it yet, but Zelda is much more noticeably into Link than she appeared to be in episode 1, or at the very least, she's not totally repulsed by him anymore. Anyways, before they can kiss, the ground under them rises and Tektites come out to attack. After defeating them, Zelda offers to kiss Link again, before they get interrupted for the second time in like 4 minutes. If you couldn't figure it out yet, the ground moving was all due to Ganon. So Link and Zelda get fed up and head out to get the second Triforce piece and put an end to Ganon once and for all. After leaving the castle, they turn around to realize the entire thing is already sunk to the earth with everybody in it. Ganon's master plan was to sink the castle to the underworld and just snatch up the Triforce before Link and Zelda could get to him. Unluckily for Ganon, they had already packed the Triforce up, meaning the castle was underground for pretty much no good reason. Ganon is furious, and he starts wrecking the castle's furniture while screaming out harsh profanities.
I'm very upset!
Link starts chirping Ganon so Zelda can grab the Triforce of Power, but they both become incapacitated. Lucky for him, Link had found a bracelet earlier that gives him super strength, allowing him to free himself, save Zelda, defeat Ganon, and bring the castle back to the surface. As a token of appreciation, the king gives Link a kiss, as they all laugh about the fun day they've had. Yeah, I'll be totally honest, I don't like this episode at all. I think it's the amount of action scenes and exposition scenes that kind of just makes me bored. I'm sure as a kid I would have loved the fight scenes, yada yada, but I don't know, I don't really care. I think the MVP for this episode is King Harkinian. He kept an eye on Ganon while they were in the castle underground, and he kissed Link at the end just for the hell of it. Like I said, this episode's not really my favorite, which I know I've said for like multiple episodes so far, but I actively disliked this one. Now, I'm not trying to throw any shade, of course, but it is important to note that this is the only episode that was not written by somebody in the Forward family. Bob Forward wrote most of the episodes, he had his sister Eve Forward write some episodes, and he had his mom Marcia write a plot which he later incorporated into a full episode. Again, no shade, but it's just kind of interesting that the one episode I dislike is the one episode that someone else writes. Hello, Editing Joey here again. I totally forgot to mention Phil Harnage, who wrote 2 episodes, episode 2 Cold Spells and episode 4 Kiss and Tell. But yeah, I just forgot to mention him. Still, shout out to the Forward family for writing almost the entire show. And even if I wasn't a fan of your episode, shout out to Dennis O'Flattery. Alright, back to the video. Like I talked about earlier, episode 7 is the first episode Eve Forward wrote for the show. This episode starts with a moblin crawling up the castle to hear more of Link's unique and completely original song. In the underworld, the moblin reports to Ganon that he failed, so Ganon sends his evil magic frisbee towards Hyrule Castle. After landing, it transforms into a mirror, which releases an evil Zelda and some moblins. The moblins kidnap the original Zelda and then accidentally break the mirror. Evil Zelda gives Link a big fat kiss, and then convinces him to bring the Triforce of Wisdom with them to defeat Ganon, much like last episode. Unlike last episode, where the Triforce wouldn't shut the hell up, it stays real quiet this time. How convenient. It couldn't have just been like,
Yo, Link, that's not the real Zelda, look out, or something.
What a piece of junk. Back in the underworld, Zelda's tied to a spike and being harassed by Ganon once again.
Coochie coo!
After Ganon leaves to go kill Link, Zelda cuts herself free and walks in on evil Zelda making out with Link for the 3rd time. Real Zelda doesn't really care about that and just yells at Link to rush after evil Zelda so they can have a Scooby-Doo-esque door chase. After opening a door and falling to their doom, Link uses the force field ring which saves their lives, only for Zelda to just jump off again. After the Zeldas reach the water, Link has trouble telling the two apart, leading him to ask for the only thing he knows best.
A kissing contest!
Why, sure.
Zelda 1 wastes no time going in on the spit swapping, but Zelda 2 smacks Link in the face and he's like,
That's my Zelda, alright.
Anyway, evil Zelda is killed and Link forces Ganon to go through my worst nightmare. Link and Zelda use the Triforce's power to fly back to the Overworld, where Link tries to convince Zelda to go goth, which she doesn't take kindly to. Yeah, episode 7 was better than the last one, but it's not amazing by any means. The episode's plot kind of reminded me of the Mario episode Rainstorm. MVP for this episode, I guess Zelda. I don't really have a good reason. It's just kind of, I don't know. Episode 8 begins with Link sleepwalking across a tightrope to Zelda's bedroom, where she promptly tries to kill him. While they flirt with each other, some vires fly down and blow up the Triforce into 3 pieces. Link manages to save one Triforce shard, but the other two are flown away and taken to the underworld. Zelda explains the Triforces are linked, so shooting their piece will send a sword beam out from the other two. Of course, it works, which kills the Vyres and leaves the remaining Triforce pieces in some random locations. After entering the underworld, the Triforce leads the heroes into a door full of snakes, but Link isn't worried because they're really just ropes. Link then remembers ropes are a kind of snake in Hyrule, so he kicks them in the face in a fit of rage. After the snakes tie Link up as if they were ropes and not snakes called ropes, Rope Snake tie Snake Link Zelda. Narrowly escaping death, Link decides to start stripping, which leads Zelda to push him to his death in a deep, dark, dangerous, hazardous, monster-infested, waters. Before he lands, we get one final "Excuse me, princess!" But before he dies, Zelda has a change of heart and saves Link after she sees he got a piece of the Triforce. Link lets out another "Excuse me, princess" in the span of 2 minutes.
Hey! Excuse me,
Oh, just get moving.
So Zelda punishes him for spamming it by making him run across the fiery landscape to retrieve the third and final piece of the Triforce. Just as he's about to get the final piece, however, Ganon appears. So tired of the hassle, Link just gives up and lets Ganon win. Just kidding, the Triforce is super hot, and Ganon is ungrateful, so Link sends it back to Zelda. Link then surfs across the fire using a shield like a total badass, and launches the two of them back to safety in the overworld. The episode ends with Ganon inside his evil jar, hanging out with Snake Rope Tie Snake, named Tie's Rope Evil Rope Tie named Rope Snake. Episode 8 started off interesting with the sleepwalking bit, but it got kind of boring as it went on. Like, after the Triforce pieces were dropped, there was nothing to talk about for the next 4 minutes. And again, being 15-minute episodes, that's almost a third of the episode that I had nothing to talk about. So if you couldn't tell, I got kind of bored and just started interpreting the episode however my mind saw it. Maybe being 2 hours into this show is making me lose interest, or maybe it just has some weak episodes. I can't really tell. What I can tell is the MVP for this episode is definitely the snake. Well, actually it's a rope, but that's just what the snakes are called. You see, rope snake tie rope around, but snake rope tie no rope snake, snake rope rope tie. We start this episode off with Link finding some dude getting his ass beat in the forest. After Link rescues him and scares off his attackers, he introduces himself as Sleazenose. Now, I don't know about you, but the last person I'd trust is some goblin-looking dude living in the forest named Sleazenose. Unfortunately for him, Link isn't me, so he fully trusts the dude named Sleazenose when he offers him a working chick magnet. Only thing is, the chick magnet happens to be a sword, and Link just so happens to already have a sword. Being as desperate as he is, Link trades his old sword for this new chick magnet and rushes off to save Zelda from the evil Patras. However, Link's new sword is no match for the Williams, leading to both Link and Zelda being captured by Ganon. Sleazenose then just pulls up to Ganon's dungeon, makes fun of Link for being a dumbass, then tries to sell Ganon Link's sword for 1,000 rupees. Because of that, Sleazenose gets sentenced to death along with Link and Zelda. Before they become dinner, they all go over the items they have on them, Zelda revealing she has a rope, but not the ropes from earlier. Those ropes are actually snakes. Zelda gets flung around by the Goma, while Sleazenose tries to pick the lock to the dungeon. Of course, the little rat gets it unlocked and tries to leave the other two to die, but Link catches him in the act. The three of them decide to confide in Ramiel. Sprite explains that to beat Ganon, they have to use natural resources. So, the classic trio, Link, Zelda, and Sleazenose, set out to prepare traps and to beat Ganon using no magic at all. Sadly, in a heel turn we all saw coming, Sleazenose betrays his friends and joins Ganon's forces. Psych! Triforce of Sleaziness strikes again, bitch. Using their traps, which consist entirely of bees for some reason, Ganon and his army are defeated and forced to retreat back to the underworld. After another close encounter with each other's lips, Link and Zelda realize Sleazenose is nowhere to be seen. And you know what's unguarded right now? The Triforce of Wisdom.
Oh no!
Sleazenose strikes again. Psych! Zelda had it hidden in a pile of clothes for protection. Sleazenose would never turn on his friends. Double psych! Sleazenose thought he actually stole the Triforce, but it turns out Sprite put a spell on a box of ants, making it look like the Triforce. Sleazenose runs into the forest being bitten by ants, where he later succumbed to his injuries and died. Episode 9 might have been my favorite episode in a while. Something about the character of Sleazenose is just so funny to me. MVP for this episode would go to Sleazenose, but I actually kind of hate him, so the award goes to the dudes who were beating his ass in the forest. Episode 10 starts with Link trying to sneak away to go fishing before Zelda catches him and makes him do his chores. Being the respectful young lad he is, Link agrees and gets to work cleaning... Wait, do you hear that? What the hell is that? Oh, good, it's dead. After the castle's handyman Doof puts him back together, the robot starts messing around in the castle, accidentally, yet heroically, stopping some mob... No! Link avenges his friend's death by showing off his trapeze skills. Doof once again puts the robot back together, who at this point really wants revenge, so it helps Link defeat the moblins before falling and crushing him to death. Zelda walks in on Link laying on the floor with the robot parts splayed about, and scolds him for messing around. Couldn't Doof have put the robot back together? Or at least helped explain to Zelda what happened? Well, Link thinks the same thing, so he goes and confronts him, but Doof has a pretty good explanation actually.
Well, I ran away. I was scared.
Classic Doof. Link gets Doof to make him some moblin robots that he can defeat in front of Zelda to get out of doing his chores. But Zelda is close enough to hear his idea and come up with her own plan. Down in the underworld, Ganon gets his hand on a mind control device, which he plans to use to get the Triforce of...
Marry me!
Okay. I guess Ganon wants to marry Zelda now. Anyway, back in the castle, Zelda and Link are having a nonchalant battle.
Hey! Yeah!
But it ends when Doof shows up with his moblin robot.
Link?
Wait a minute. If that's the only moblin robot to exist, and Zelda just got taken by moblin robots, that means...
Oh no!
In order to catch up to them, Link pulls out some Breath of the Wild tech, but it's in vain, as Zelda is already down in the underworld. Meanwhile, Ganon is trying to convince Zelda to marry him, but it's futile. She doesn't need any convincing.
I will marry Ganon.
Let the ceremony begin!
Link refuses to accept that truth and crashes the wedding, tackling Zelda and knocking some sense into her. After defeating Ganon and returning to the overworld, Doof finally does something useful and shows up with a shitty moblin bot which amuses the princess. The end. Episode 10 sucks ass and Doof is somehow more hateable than Sleazenose. I don't know how the goofy handyman of Hyrule Castle who makes all these silly robots is more hateable than the goblin douchebag who almost killed all of Hyrule, but he is. Like, after telling Link he was scared, that was the only time I've paused the episode and out loud said, what the f? I was just so mad. I was like, what the f are you talking about? You're an idiot. I don't know. I just don't like him. Is that like, I don't know. Aside from the hating Doof, the episode is just kind of like unrelated from itself, if that makes any sense. We get introduced to the handyman of Hyrule Castle who's good at building robots, and then Ganon finds a mind control device, which both sound like really good episode ideas. Yet the two plots barely mix. Those ideas could work together in one episode, but they could also both stand alone on their own. Maybe Ganon uses the mind control to like incapacitate Link and Zelda, and Doof is spared because he lives in the basement or some shit. I don't know. And that could lead Doof to build an army of like goofy robots to save them because they'd be immune to the mind control. However, instead of that, Doof's plot could have literally been anything else. And as long as Zelda made it to the underworld, which happens in almost every episode anyways, it would have worked. I'm sure that criticism applies to a lot of episodes, but getting from point A to point B usually ties into each other. And like I said, I could probably let it slide for other episodes, but Doof pisses me off so much that I just need to point it out. MVP of this episode is the wedding officiant, who kind of looks like someone I'd draw. Episode 11 opens with King Harkinian playing in the fountain like a fat baby and talking about plans to open a water park. Over at the construction site, water geysers are erupting from the ground and attacking the workers, sending them fleeing to plead King Harkinian for help. Link answers their prayers and heads to the site with Zelda to see what's up and gets scolded for stepping on a flower. After messing around in the water for a bit and narrowly escaping death like 5 times, the king shows up and tells them they're being dramatic about the monsters. And then he gets kidnapped. Link and Zelda head back to the castle to chop it up with the Triforce about who took King Harkinian. And as usual, the Triforce gives some pretty shit advice. This advice might be the worst though, because it's like,
have you tried checking the water?
Like, no, I didn't think to check there. As punishment for being a smartass, Link and Zelda put on their tree dome helmets and head underwater, making sure the Triforce feels left out. After swimming a bit, they discover some big fish who snatches the Triforce and drags Zelda through the water, which eventually leads them to some pond in the overworld. Suddenly, magic beams begin shooting out of thin air, summoning water monsters to attack Link. One can only assume that this is God punishing Link for his sins, but it turns out to actually just be fairies. King Harkinian crawls out of some hole and explains that he was using the fairies' water to make his water park, so they were just attacking the Hylians to protect it. Of course, the king is kind of just like, my bad, and gives the fairies each a one-time pass to go down the slide. The end. Alright, believe it or not, I don't like being that negative, but this episode was not that good. There's this scene that I talked about where Zelda freaks out on Link for stepping on a flower, and I thought it would be something that like leads them to the fairy world, or like, oh, this is a flower that fairies protect, or something like that. But it was actually just never brought up again. It was just kind of like a throwaway. Besides that, I kind of just didn't enjoy the plot too much. MVP has got to be King Oberon. He stood on business and fought back against the Hylians stealing his people's water. That's respectable. Episode 12 begins peacefully, as Zelda is simply picking flowers in the courtyard. Oh my god! Ganon and his minions attack, ultimately sending out a magic beam that will send whoever it hits to his evil jar. Zelda manages to deflect it, but it ricochets and hits Link instead. Turns out the blast kinda killed him. So Ganon laughs about it and heads into the underworld while Zelda mourns. Luckily, this is a world full of magic and fairies, so Link's spirit is still around to hang out with Zelda. Link convinces Zelda to head to the underworld so he can get his body back, and she agrees. Being unable to fight, Link can't do anything to help but criticize Zelda's sword skills.
You swing that sword like a girl.
I am a girl.
Yes, I've noticed.
However, Link's not totally useless, as they find out psychological warfare is still an option.
Where is he?
Right here.
The Stalfos Link scared tells Ganon about the rogue spirit, and Ganon gets grossed out because Zelda being able to see Link is only possible
If she was in love with him, Zelda in love with Link. Oh, how disgusting!
Naturally, Link gets an ego boost from the whole thing and starts making a fool of himself, which alerts the enemies to their location. A fight scene ensues as Link swims through the evil jar towards his body.
Nice hat.
Ha! I'm back.
Link erupts from the evil jar in a blaze of glory, surfing on the jar's mystery liquid and flushing Ganon away. The jar's self-destruct sequence initiates and blows up Ganon's lair, the two heroes narrowly escaping with their lives. Episode 12 is a pretty short note segment compared to the other episodes, but I think it's actually the best episode so far. Most of the time my enjoyment from episodes comes from the absurdity or just the jokes and the concept of it, but this one was just well written and actually had some character development, which I was not expecting. I go in more in depth on why it's such a good episode later, so you just gotta wait till then. MVP of this episode has to go to the Stalfo, who is just absolutely terrified of Link. Episode 13 starts off with Ganon's minions invading the castle. Sadly, they're all total morons, and end up killing themselves before Link even needs to get out of bed. Ganon scolds them for being idiots, but these guys don't take kindly to that, so they trap Ganon in a bubble and send him to hell. Now that the minions are in charge, they get right into making better decisions than Ganon ever did.
Here, hold this, and don't drop it. Don't what? Drop it, stupid! Whatever you say. Oh!
Back at the castle, Link and Zelda get a note exactly like the one from Plants vs. Zombies. So, they check their window to see how many sunflowers they have placed down, only to realize Ganon's army is stationed outside the castle, actively breaking the door down. Hijinks ensue as the minions try and fail to invade the castle, causing Link and Zelda to get so bored that they decide to go check what Ganon's up to. Before they can though, some dumbass flies over the castle wall and tells them the Triforce is unguarded. The moblin kinda just sits there with the most pathetic face I've ever seen before Link comes back to kill him. Down in the underworld, Link and Zelda find the Triforce, but before they take it, Link decides to fuck around with Ganon for a bit. Of course, this goes wrong as they end up releasing him, but he's so mad at his minions that he can't even be bothered to kill Link and Zelda. He summons his minions back to the underworld and demands they clean up the lair using their tongues. Back at the castle, we get one last
Excuse me, princess?
as Zelda scolds Link for messing around instead of getting the Triforce and ensuring peace for Hyrule. Link ends the episode off with a
At least I still have a job.
yeah, so the Zelda show kinda got canceled before season 2, meaning these 13 episodes are all we have. And considering that was episode 13, we're done. Before we wrap the video up though, let's talk about this episode. I'm not really a fan of episodes that revolve around side characters, so using an episode like that as the finale of the season is kind of a ballsy move. However, it kind of worked. I already mentioned how dumb Ganon's minions were, especially the moblins. So to see them just engage in a ton of slapstick buffoonery is like pretty entertaining. Now this is the part where I talk about episode 12. I personally think if episode 12 and episode 13 were swapped, nobody would have any complaints about the ending of the show, outside of it being canceled. Ending on a heartwarming episode showing that Zelda really does care about Link despite how they treat each other would be a really heartwarming way to end the series. Of course, shows don't know when they're going to get canceled, so I'm not surprised there wasn't a big finale. MVP of this episode is Link, for choosing his job over peace for all of Hyrule. With the final episode finished, our "Excuse me, princess" total comes out to 28. Well, everybody, that was my take on the Legend of Zelda show. I actually had a lot of fun writing this script and writing about every episode, so if you have any shows or movies you want me to cover, send them my way, please. Before we say our goodbyes, let's have one more walk down memory lane and summarize each episode in one sentence. Episode 1. Link and Zelda fight Ganon. Episode 2. Link hates doing chores, so he fakes a terminal illness. Episode 3. Link gets big-dicked and abandons the kingdom of Hyrule. Episode 4. Link kisses a random girl and gets frog herpes. Episode 5. Ganon is furious nobody gives a shit about his new unicorn. Episode 6. Link and Zelda get blue-balled. The episode. Episode 7. Zelda's sister comes to town and makes out with Link. Episode 8. The Triforce of Wisdom finally shuts up for once. Episode 9. Link believes a forest goblin named Sleazenose will be reliable. Episode 10. Link and Ganon fight for Zelda's love, while Doof pretends to act important. Episode 11. The King of Hyrule steals the water from needy people to run his royal water park. Episode 12. Link dies. Episode 13. Ganon's minions go on strike and get the show canceled. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe button, comment button, hit the save to collection button, hit the Quan. If you stayed this far, maybe leave a comment like, I love Sleazenose and the Triforce is sleaziness or something. I don't know. I don't care. Do whatever you want. I love you. Goodbye.